Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And what is going on in Hollywood?
Oh, we know what's going on.
What's going on in Hollywood? Yeah, so a couple of days after Disney announced that they got rid of their diversity and inclusion officer, everybody else is too. Netflix is getting rid of theirs. And not to be outdone, Warner Brothers is getting rid of theirs.
Wow.
So it's almost as if these are very disposable positions. It's a made-up job. And they're like, you know what? We got to save money, and we're saving money on two fronts. One, we're not paying you gals anymore to tell us, to scold us about our content. And two, we're saving money because the content we put out will appeal to a much larger audience because you're not interfering in the production of it.
It's like we talked about with the people that were doing the sensitivity readers. It's like they don't have a job if they don't go find things to complain about. So, is their job to go find things? Like, I think that's what happened to the pirate wench auction and stuff, is because they came out of nowhere. I think they just go find things to be offended by to get rid of because they don't have a job. But I think they overdid it, which is why they no longer have a job.
Yeah, because the movies are not performing. The shows are not performing. People are not subscribing to the services because they're like, hey, we don't want to be lectured about whatever the cause of the week is. And so there's definitely a sea change in Hollywood.
You can get the same kind of messages across and do it in an entertaining, not overly slapping you over the head kind of way. And they don't seem to understand finesse. It's just slap you over the head.
Gene Roddenberry did it decades ago. Next Generation did it decades ago.
Star Wars did it.
Star Wars did it. You can get progressive messages across, or at least give people food for thought without talking down to them, without lecturing them, without scolding them.
Well, without telling them everything. I mean, you can't just let them think. You have to tell them like 10 times in case you missed it the first 9.
All right. So let's talk about this because this is definitely a change. All it took for everything to change in Hollywood is for the money to run out. And now we really see where their loyalties lie.
I think it would have done sooner if we hadn't had the pandemic.
I think so.
Because the pandemic put everybody at home and they were watching the streaming services. Mostly things like, Tiger King and stuff like that.
Tiger King, Office reruns.
Right.
Yeah.
The things they were watching weren't their progressive bullshit either. But I think that stalled it out a little bit because people were streaming. They're watching the streaming, so these people got like a reprieve. And then they doubled down worse. And then it got even worse after the pandemic.
So after the consolidation of Hollywood, after all these strikes are over, after the dust settles, I think Hollywood might actually build back better. So anyway, before we get into it any further, we already got into it pretty deep here. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. You get woohoo if you do.
Woohoo! I'm sorry, I was stuck on pretty deep. Anyway.
Pretty deep. Yeah, it's in pretty deep. They're in pretty deep, right? So yeah, just a couple of days ago, we reported on Disney firing their diversity exec.
They probably are going to say, oh, no, she left it her own in the middle of the night with no message except for a human resource message telling everybody to report to somebody else.
Well, actually, I think it was Netflix. One of them let them actually give a goodbye message. Disney didn't. They had a message sent out from HR.
Right.
So let's start with Netflix and we'll go to Warner Brothers. Hollywood Reporter, Netflix's Verna Myers to exit. Wade Davis promoted to lead inclusion strategy.
Oh, a dude?
A dude.
I thought you only could be a non-white woman.
The executive had been tasked with implementing diversity, equity, inclusion strategies over the past 5 years. In 5 years, 5 to 8 years, is when everything got really freaking weird.
Yes.
Everything got really weird. So Verna Myers, who helped spearhead Netflix inclusion and diversity initiatives over the past 5 years, is exiting the streaming giant in September.
So they're giving her some time.
Yep, and will be succeeded by VP of Inclusion Strategy, Wade Davis. Now, how much do you want to bet the new boss is not going to be as heavy-handed? It might be a case of we need a DEI person for reasons.
I mean, sometimes you do need somebody to make sure, but a lot of times they've been just going overboard.
They've absolutely been going overboard, right? Again, it's like the sensitivity readers,
Well, it's like the awards now. You can't be nominated for an award unless you meet these criteria for DEI. And it's like, here's my thing. Sometimes, I get it, but sometimes the best person for the job it's not the person that they want to see in the job. Like sometimes, there are people that are really good at something that happen to be diverse, and sometimes the best person qualified is somebody who's not considered quote unquote diverse. And they're putting in people who might not be as qualified because they're trying to hit these mandates, and it's kind of stupid.
So they're trying to put a good spin on it because when Disney got rid of theirs, they were like, yeah, don't let the door hitch on the way out.
They didn't even let her say anything.
She said she's been there since August of 2018. She was in charge of diversity, equity, and inclusion strategies across the service company-wide and promoting representation on screen and behind the camera.
Yeah,
so
what they were asking for the award ceremony.
This explains all of these race-swapped characters.
All these ratios you have to hit.
It's like every show's got exactly the right amount of whatever kind of person, right? But she's going to stay on as an advisor to Netflix via her own consulting firm, the Verna Myers Company, which provides DEI training to corporate workforces.
Yeah, but so is Christine McCarthy. She didn't get gone. She's staying on as a consultant.
Yeah, that is the company's way of saving face.
Kathleen Kennedy, if she does get gone, will be probably left to hang on as a consultant.
Yeah, because what they want to do is they want to present, because you can't just say, hey, everybody, we shit-canned our diversity officer. And again, it's not a one-off. This isn't just Netflix. Netflix, Warner, and Disney all within a week of each other. Boom, the DEI bosses are gone. Mm-hmm. They're trying to put a good spin on it because we know that rags like, the Mary Sue or whatever is going to come along and be like, oh my God, they fired their diversity inclusion officer. This is horrible. Well, now the bigots are going to take over.
I think it's because Disney did it first, because we saw the same thing with the strikes, with the writer's strike. Disney mandated some of their employees had to still stay in there, even though they technically couldn't because of the strike rules. And they were telling people they'd get fired if they didn't. And then other companies like Warner and stuff came out and said the exact same thing after Disney did it. Disney gets rid of their DEI, then everybody else is like, oh, okay. And I think they're using the strikes and the upheaval as like a cover for it.
There's not going to be anything for you to fuck up because we're not going to have any new shows for a while because of the strike. I think the studios actually secretly love this. Like, we have been trying to get rid of these people, some of these writers and these DEI people for years, and now we have it out. Oh,
yeah, there's no project, so we don't need you now. So you stick till September, and then when we can go back to doing it again, we'll bring you as a consultant.
Yeah, she probably had something in her contract. She probably had a parachute. And they want to make it look good.
Yeah, it probably was if she was allowed to be September.
They want to make it look good, right? They're not just going to kick her to the curb because it looks bad if they do that. But nobody goes back to their own consulting firm, especially now. Like, you're not going to get very many phone calls there, Verna, because I think a lot of these companies are like, you know what? Coke tried it. Look what happened. Bud Light tried it. Look what happened.
Are we hearing about sensitivity readers much anymore? After they tried to ruin like Roald Dahl, and they went to James Bond, and there was so much backlash. Oh, and Dr. Seuss and all that. There was so much backlash that you're not hearing about it anymore, are you?
So, just side note, right? We were going through some print samples yesterday, and I picked up a book. And it was a role playing. It was actually one of the things that they had printed. It was actually an RPG hardcover handbook, right? And I'm looking through it, and I'm like, oh, hey, we've got a brown elf in a wheelchair. That's kind of funny.
Are you serious?
And then I looked at the back, and it said sensitivity reader. It had the name of the sensitivity reader. I'm like, oh my God, I was kidding. I'm like, they probably had a sensitivity reader. It's right there in the freaking credits. Sensitivity reader. I'm like, oh my God. So of course,
brown elf in a wheelchair.
Brown elf in a wheelchair. Yes, I'm not kidding. I'm not going to say...
elves couldn't be in wheelchairs. And not that we're saying against wheelchairs. It's just like, it's just so on the nose.
It's a very speedy wheelchair.
Hey, you know what? I think it's completely fine to offer that as an option to equip your character with.
I think an optional. I mean,
you'd have to have some kind of terrain boost or magic boost on it that it can actually float or something.
Wouldn't it make sense to have like one of those like spider chairs from the Phantom Menace where they had the spider legs on? Because then you could like climb up trees and stuff.
Yeah, something like that. Oh, that's cool. You should remember that for when you do your game stuff.
I should do that. That'd be kind of cool. Like, yeah, we got like an all-terrain spider chair.
Because I can see why some people would want to equip that, because maybe they're in a wheelchair and they want a character that represents them. So I can totally see it being... But I just think it's funny that it happens to be, you have to be this character specifically with the wheelchair.
I'm like, it's so... Because I keep joking about WotC. This wasn't a WotC product. This was an independent book. But I'm like, oh, this looks like something out of current year D&D. And then it's like sensitivity reader... I'm like, oh, of course.
Yeah, now you're in trouble. Because anybody who wants to work with WotC can't talk to you, apparently. That's all other story.
We're working on it. So anyway, during the executive's tenure at the streaming service, Myers authored Netflix's first inclusion report in 2021.
Okay, Okay, this is starting to make
which
so much
discloses
sense.
representation stats for the company's workforce as well as initiatives in workplace culture and in programming. I have to wonder what she had to say about Dave Chappelle.
Meanwhile, I just want to point out that the Supreme Court is getting rid of affirmative action for college admissions, right when all these DEI officers are being gone.
And at least in Netflix's case, they waited until Pride Month was almost over before they got rid of her. Like Disney's like, yeah, it's like the beginning of Pride. They waited until after Juneteenth and they like kicked her ass to the curb and they just had HR say, yeah, she's not here anymore, guys. You're going to report to so-and-so.
Yeah, pretty much. But anyway, back to now you were going to talk about Warner Brothers having their person gone?
Yeah, I just want to.
Well, so she did the first report.
Yes.
In 2021. So it's basically, like I said, looking for a reason to keep yourself there. 2021, after the pandemic, stuff was starting to slow down. You had to justify your existence.
Yeah. So they came up with a fund for creative equity that was supposedly going to invest $100 million over 5 years into diverse shows. The latest annual inclusion report released in April said that $30 million had been spent as part of that initiative on dozens of programs. This explains so much because everybody keeps joking about Netflix and the race swapping and how freaking obvious it is, incredibly obvious.
I like to see some of these companies give an initiative for gingers because, they're being wiped out.
And I'm sorry, they're trying to put a positive spin on it because they're trying to save face. They don't want to be the bad guys. They don't want to be the people that are like, you know what? We realized that DEI was actually costing us money because people weren't watching our quote unquote woke programming anymore. So, we're firing this person. It's like, no, we're going to phase her out.
Well, the problem is that there's going to be a terrible side effect of this. And what's going to happen is people are going to be like turned against, people that were like on minority-led shows, not because the shows necessarily, because some of those shows are good. But the thing is, like when we were kids, there was all kinds of shows that were led by minorities all the time, but the shows had to come first. You had to be good characters, good show. Unfortunately, they're putting diversity, inclusion, and check boxes first. So we have all these shows that you might have decent actors on, or it could have been a good show, but they've meddled with it so much that now people hate it. So that people might turn their back on diverse shows because they think it's going to be more of the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's weird because they didn't really shout it from the rooftops back in the day. I mean, we had one of the most popular.
It just was.
Yeah, it just was one of the most popular shows of the '80s, The Cosby Show. We had the Fresh Prince in the '90s. Mm-hmm. We had so many shows in the '70s that were pretty big hits too, that were quote unquote diverse. And it wasn't like we had to make a big deal about it. I mean, The Cosby Show organically became the most popular show on TV. And I don't think there was a single white person on there.
We were kids. There were so many shows that was mixed cast, or like, Living Color was a bunch of different people. You had all these different shows that they were like black-led shows all the time. And you had people, Will and Grace and stuff like that. No one thought anything of it at all.
I mean, this has been going on for years. I mean, go back to All in the Family back in the early 70s. They were covering a lot of topics that, they ham-fistedly try to cover current year, but they were doing it better in like 1972 than they do current year.
And the reason is because these people like these diversity, these DEI people, these companies keep bringing in. You're going to look for problems. If you're looking for problems, you're going to find them. And sometimes things are legitimately, an issue. But a lot of times, and I'd say the majority of times, they're not. They're just looking for things to be mad about.
So they said her departure is not a result of cost-cutting measures, according to a memo sent by Warner Brothers. It's rather due to reorganization of the division. Now, here's where it's interesting.
We're reorganizing just in time to get rid of people.
It's meant to focus more on, the division, which is meant to focus more on employee-related initiatives. The DEI team will search for a new group VP to oversee North America and employee DEI initiatives and a new group VP internationally, resulting in an expansion of the team. Read what they're actually saying. It sounds to me like they're just going to roll DEI into HR.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like, yeah.
So they're not saying we're going to expand or we're going to have people to oversee the content, the programming.
But then they go on. Importantly, these changes do not alter our commitment to or our plans to pipeline programs and content-driven initiatives. They're a pillar of DE&I strategy. Yeah, thing is, they're not getting watched.
No. And they're bringing up here, they said, however, the layoff comes amid a trend of departures from DEI positions in the industry. Earlier this week, Netflix disclosed that Verna Myers is gone. Last week, Disney confirmed that LaTondra Newton is gone. No, they're going to do it on the down low. Like, yeah, we're still committed to DEI, so you don't cancel us. But the reality is we're committed to the bottom line, and we're going to try to greenlight programming. We have a DEI person.
Let's be honest here.
But like, yeah,
there's not enough number of people that are they're gonna cancel their stuff over this DEI thing, because most people don't care. Most people don't even know it exists. They don't give a shit.
Yeah. So this is a memo. This is a memo.
And here's another case, like Disney with Warner. She didn't write her own message. Like, they're not giving her to September like they are at Netflix. It looks like she's just out the door with the person that oversees her, is representing, that one's, what's his name?
Asif.
Yeah, whatever, is kind of temporarily filling in until they find somebody. Put a notice out. She didn't do it herself again.
Yeah. So what's interesting, though, is, again, look at what they're saying. They said, we're going to create a holistic diversity, equity, inclusion strategy that effectively serves Warner Brothers employees, our creative partners, diverse talent industry-wide, and consumers. They are telling you they're walking it back.
They have to be, because by their own art, because otherwise their argument was these people were doing that already.
Yeah.
So why reiterate that statement? You know what I mean?
Yep.
It doesn't make sense.
So as a result of this new approach, and they talk about this, they're talking about like, yeah, we're going to try to increase representation on screen, but we're also going to make sure that we can focus on educating and empowering our employees. They're rolling it into HR. They're basically like, yeah, we'll do diversity and inclusion, and maybe we'll have sensitivity readers or whatever, but it's not going to be a focus.
Got too carried away.
They got too carried away.
They were being ridiculous, and that's what happened.
Yeah,
and they were losing money. At the end of the day, this is happening because the companies were all losing money and viewers and subscribers.
As a result of this new approach, Karen Horn, Senior Vice President of North America DE&I, who's been a broad DEI portfolio, blah, 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 will be departing the company. So yeah, she has a broad DE&I portfolio beyond employee-related initiatives. So basically, she was in charge of, making sure that the programs were quote unquote woke. Mm-hmm. She was making sure there was enough representation on screen. And maybe she raised her hand at a meeting last month and said, what'd be great is if Batman was a brown woman in a wheelchair with a bat chair, could fly around, because that's what we need. We need to make Bruce Wayne broke because he's a fascist. And they're like, yeah, you know what? Those Batman movies make a lot of money. Shut the fuck up.
No. We need to make him Lucy Wayne.
Lucy Wayne. Oh my God. That should be like a YA graphic novel. The Adventures of Lucy Wayne and her magic.
Some kid that has no relation to Bruce Wayne whatsoever, but thinks they're related because they have the same last name. And then does lemonade stands to get money and then makes her own stuff.
That's actually funny. That would be amazing. That would be amazing. Yeah.
There you go. Now you can do it.
Lucy Wayne, that person. Yeah. So look, they're walking that back, guys, and all it takes is one domino to fall over, to get knocked over. And it was Disney, and it's been Disney on a couple occasions. They're like, yeah, we can't afford this shit. This DEI is a luxury item. And when the money runs out, and you got to make money, and all your movies are bombing at the box office, I gotta wonder, did she whisper in Zaslav's ear and say, you know what, we need to move forward with the Flash?
I was thinking it.
Because we've got a they/them as the lead, and this would be, you can't cancel the Flash, David, because if you do, all the they/thems of the world are going to be very, very upset with you, and it's going to cost you money.
The Disney chick, I wonder if she's the one told Chapek that he had to make a statement. Because other people that were there told not to, and they got fired.
Yeah.
But he did it anyway. So I'm like, I wonder if she's the one that said, you need to do this, and now the company was in trouble now, and all the lawsuits and stuff.
Yeah, and we're seeing the money people get gone. We're seeing, a lot of things are changing, guys. There's going to be a sea change. I think, like I said, when the dust clears, the dust settles, we're going to have a very, very different Hollywood, possibly a more humble Hollywood.
Don't hold your breath on that one.
But it's going to be a Hollywood that's focused on making money.
Maybe Gingers can come back.
There we go. We're going to wrap it up.
Yep.
Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We'll talk later.
Bye.
Help support the channel. Go to thereef.support and get early access to podcasts, videos, and other content. That's thereef.support.